Hi everyone, and welcome to the General Collective Illumination reading for the week of July 24th through the 30th. This is I Am Illuminated Tarot reading for Soul Illumination. My name is Lauren. Hi and welcome to everyone. Now this reading is going to be taking a look at the energy for the week ahead. It is general and collective. I will also be releasing a individual reading for each sign based on the general themes that come out in this reading. If you're interested, those will be released in the next couple of days on my channel. But otherwise, we're going to be taking a look at the general themes for the week ahead. So I'm going to start by pulling a card here to get the overarching theme, the message for the week. So let's see what we can all be focused on. I like to have these weekly readings not as a prediction, but more as something that we can keep in mind to help keep us focused in the present moment as we go through the week, to help Spirit have access to kind of creep into our life, not in a negative or a scary way, but in a way where we can hear our intuition. We can hear those little messages that want to come through that help steer us kind of in the right course of action during the week for us to stay in alignment with our spiritual purpose, our spiritual growth, and to also just be aware in the moment of something beyond just the basic day-to-day functions that we all sometimes can get lost in. This, again, just gives Spirit that door to come in and help us become more aware of ourselves. So we have flexible, number 19. The number 19 breaks down to the number 10, further breaking down to the number 1 in numerology. So there's a sense here of kind of endings and beginnings and us having to be flexible in between that space. I'm actually hearing the Dave Matthews song where the lyrics are the space in between. And there is something about that where when you kind of look at this individual, he's poised on top of an egg. And that egg is, for me, representing the new, something that's getting ready to hatch. But there's a sense here of us having to be flexible during the period of waiting for what's in here to hatch, but also possibly this could be us trying to be flexible around what's actually going to come out of that egg. So it's an interesting week. We're kind of getting propelled now into the new beginning energy that we've all been pushed towards over the past, I'd say, maybe year and a half, possibly a little longer. But this is that kind of springboard week of us moving into the new. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read the little excerpt that comes with this card, just so we can get kind of a larger message here. So we have flexible. It says essential meanings: teachability, open-mindedness, being adaptable without compromising what's most important. The oracle's message says a tree's roots are solidly planted in the ground, yet its branches can bend in a hurricane, whereas a rigid structure like a building would come crashing down. Consider how the tree remains supple and secure when everything around it may be in shambles. This is how you need to be now, willing to learn new things, teachable, malleable, yet firmly grounded in who you are. Common sense is important, but so is an open mind. Stay curious, stay open, stay aware. At this time, others will be more flexible with you too. So that's interesting that it says that others will be more flexible with you too. It's almost that feeling of, if we all understand that we're all going, kind of stepping into the new, we're all getting ready to kind of bounce on that springboard or the diving board and get ready to dive into each of our own new pools. There is that sense here of kind of being forgiving towards ourselves, but also to the people around us, that everybody's going, everybody's going through these new changes. And so it's almost like everybody kind of waking up from, I'm getting that feeling of A Midsummer Night's Dream, where everybody's kind of waking up and looking around and realizing, oh my gosh, a lot's about to change. Now I'm going to pull an additional card here. So we're going to pull a tarot card now to kind of get an additional theme for this week. Now, when we think about kind of jumping into the new, it can be a little scary. Part of that, what we were just talking about there. Part of that card spoke to a hurricane or things moving into shambles around us and us having to kind of remain grounded. Now, that doesn't mean that this week is going to be, something dramatic is going to, or cataclysmic is going to happen in our life. It just means that as we are all collectively moving into the new, we may feel almost like it's almost like we are waking up as a new person. And so the things that maybe had seemed very normal to us or very routine in our experience might now start to feel like we're the one hatching out of the egg. And that routine is the shell that we have to break through at this point, that we have to kind of start to muscle our way out of what might start to feel confining, because we are that new person. We are the new version of us. And each time we kind of level up in that way, spiritually, internally, emotionally, we start to see that in our physical experience as well, because we know that we're changing internally. That is always going to be reflected externally. Now, with the High Priestess coming out as the secondary energy here, this is that understanding of trusting your intuition, of that deep personal connection, that one-on-one connection that each one of us has to the divine, to universal knowledge, to our deep connection to spirit. You notice it's the number 2 in the major arcana. And there is that sense of the I with the other I, which is spirit, divinity, God, however you choose to speak to that. There is a feeling of also a doorway, a portal that we can access that universal information if we are willing to harness both the light and the dark within ourselves. I really get the feeling that for us, that grounding, that kind of root system, that stable, deep root system that the flexible card speaks to is this. It is our intuition. It's that deep knowing, that deep understanding now of who we are, of what has changed within us, of maybe where we're feeling called into the new. And that's going to be kind of the cipher, as if you will, as to us being able to look at our experience and maybe start to see new messages. We might start to see kind of new signposts, if you will, saying, come this way instead of going that way. And that's going to be really this week, I think, highlighted for many of us as to maybe where we need to stop doing something we've done for some time, or where we've outgrown something, or where something is starting to crumble because, again, it's no longer supportive of the new version of us and the new way that we are expanding into, we are growing into. Okay, I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to start to pull additional cards. So I'm going to pull a card for each aspect of our experience. We're going to pull a card for our emotional self. We're going to pull a card for our mental self, our physical self, and what I like to call our passionate self here. So let's go ahead and see what we need to know around our emotions and around the energy of love for the week ahead. What do we need to know about our emotional experience and around the energy of love for the week ahead? Okay. So we have appreciate this moment. It says every situation is an opportunity to grow and find love with the number 33. Number 33 is a master number. It is the number of, I like to say, the number of the spiritual teacher. Sometimes we like to actually, I'm sorry, it's the master healer, that master spiritual healer. So there's a sense coming in here with, it's interesting that I was kind of speaking to before even this reading started, of really having something to focus on to keep us in the present moment. And that seems to be a theme that's coming up here, really staying present this week. And when it says appreciate the moment, every situation is an opportunity to grow and find love. There is this sense of, again, as we're moving through the week, that we have to keep that flexible element in mind, that if everybody is kind of gaining their footing in the new, then it's true, there may be these moments that pop up that make us feel frustrated, or that make us, wonder at why something isn't moving as smoothly as it normally does. It could be we're getting frustrated sitting in traffic, or we're getting frustrated going to our local grocery store that we go to every single week, and yet this week, that there's no checkout people and it's complete chaos, or there's something along those lines where it's like to learn how to appreciate that, because maybe that's the moment where you step in and say, you know what, would you like me to help you take your groceries out to the car for you? See an old lady and there's no one else there to help her perhaps. And so you take it upon yourself to do that. And there's a moment where you could have simply just gotten frustrated that it took so long, or that she's waiting for somebody to come and she's holding up the line. But you take the opportunity to step into that from a place of love. And there's going to be, I think, for many of us, especially for those of us who are in intimate relationships with others, close family dynamics, close personal romantic partnerships, where there's going to be maybe a little bit of these little key moments that come up throughout the week where we could choose to get frustrated, or we could choose to kind of resist the pushback or the maybe feeling of something new and kind of awkward, and we might not want to do it or go there. And yet with the number 33 and appreciate the moment, there's a sense here that there's an element of, in this week, we can start to really heal from a heart-based place, maybe possible areas of wounding that maybe are coming up now, or we have been kind of we've been facing, coming up to the point where we had to kind of, again, kind of close a chapter at one part of our life as we kind of came into this last week, and now we're starting to move into the new. There's a sense of anytime we have to kind of close one chapter and open the door to the new, that we're going to face that last kind of cathartic looking at the things that maybe hurt us, but also looking at the triumphs and going through that emotional purging. And there may be both you and another partner, or you and, again, a family members or close friends. You might be going through that together, and there's this beautiful moment to kind of heal, and maybe help heal each other, but also help just heal those places of wounding or where those emotions need to be purged. And it can actually be a very beautiful thing, I feel, this week, as long as we kind of keep our present awareness on it. There's a sense here of really leaning into your heart space this week when things kind of get maybe volatile, or we feel kind of emotionally keyed up, to really then fall back into, how can I love this moment? Where can I find the love in this moment? Instead of sitting there and getting mad that you're stuck in traffic coming home from work and you're going to be late going to a dinner or something along those lines, is to say, you know what, I'm grateful that I'm safe. I'm grateful that I have a vehicle that's to the point where I can be stuck in traffic. I'm grateful that I have a job that I get to come back from. But you know what, I am aware that maybe sitting in this kind of traffic is no longer of value to me. And there's a sense here, because we do have Venus just having gone retrograde in Leo on this past Saturday, the 22nd. It's going to be stationed retrograde through September 3rd. So there's a sense here of us really having this long retrograde period with Venus, of really looking at our values, looking at what our heart really is asking, where our heart is asking us to change in our life. And this may be that moment where, as you're stepping into love, instead of just getting frustrated at, let's say, being in traffic, you start to realize, I value my time more than this. And there's a sense of all of a sudden the realization of, although I'm grateful for my car and although I'm grateful for the job that I have, I'm realizing I need to change something in my experience so that I can get this time back, so that every day I'm not sitting in a place of frustration, so that I can actually open this time frame up to allow me to do something that is more in alignment with what I love, whether it's spending more time with my family, whether it's being able to go to the gym and, work on loving my body and being able to, get my fitness regime back in alignment. But there's something like that coming through here, where I think those moments where we get kind of keyed up or we feel flustered, we can step into our heart space and say, what is what I'm feeling really showing me about where now the new is trying to creep in and I may be resisting it? And how can I stay grounded in my heart space to say, it's within my power to start to make the small changes so that I can continue to move closer into the energy of love and away from what is frustrating me or making me feel like there's an element of chaos in my life. Okay, I'm going to pull a card now for our mental experience. And I love this. It says play. It says have fun, celebrate, don't be so serious. And this is really saying this week you can give your brain a rest. This is almost the week of feeling your way through. I mean, when you think of being flexible, you know, again, a tree can't sit there and avoid the hurricane coming. It's one of those things where the tree just is. The tree has to understand and have faith that its roots have grown strong enough, and that as it comes, it's going to just go with it. There's a feeling of going with the flow this week, really trusting your heart, trusting your intuition to kind of guide you, and to not overthink anything. This coming up in our mental experience just says, have fun. If something kind of gets a little crazy, maybe ask yourself, you know, with the flexible card, it did say stay curious, stay open. That there's something here that maybe you can actually stay curious as to why something didn't go your way, and maybe how it's actually going to your benefit. Or you might say, I'm going to take a new way home from work, and you might discover something that maybe unlocks a piece of this new you. You could end up meeting a new person because you make the decision to do something that you normally wouldn't do. There's something along these lines, but with the play card coming up in our mental experience, this is really saying this is that week to take a mental break. Just have fun and don't overthink it, because I don't think any of us can be prepared for what's coming in over the next couple months for ourselves, but especially this week. So let's go ahead and see now what's coming in for our physical plane of experience here. What do we need to know about our physical plane of experience for the week ahead? Surrender to non-action. Yes, this is definitely a week where we are being asked to just kind of be. There's a sense of, you know, it's almost like I think we all feel the call to the new, but instead of rushing, it's like we have to understand that there's a big cycle. This is like the first step in a larger growth cycle for each one of us. And there has to be the sense of, just like an adult, you know, going from birth to becoming an adult at some point and being able to be independent, there's a sense of there's a long growth period. That child doesn't just come out of the womb and can run. That baby has to go through the little baby steps and then finally go into, you know, going up that the ladder of growth. And there's a sense here of that's kind of us. And I like how it shows this individual. She looks like she has a unicorn horn, and there's a sense here of being able to sit with our own uniqueness now. That unicorn horn, that magic that makes us each special and unique, that is our root system. That's what we get to kind of tap into as that thing that's going to steady us no matter how crazy our week gets. It says, now is the time to be still and not act. Simply breathe and focus on your own power. Let others come to you. And I like that, because that's also a sense of maybe we feel like we want to get a jump on the new. We feel like we want to do all these things. And it's saying, you know what? The right people, the right signs, the right things, the right course of action might just fall in your lap. And this is not a week to push. This is a week to actually kind of release. There's almost a sense here of, instead of taking the leap, we're getting ready to let go. And this is the week to kind of just let go and say, okay, I'm ready for the new. What's coming in? And to foster a sense of fun in that, not fear, but fun and inner knowing. Okay, let's see what we need to know about our passions and how and where we choose to take action this week. Okay, oh, I love it. We have the Empress. So the Empress really represents holding space for what we would like to give birth to in our experience. It doesn't mean it can represent, you know, literally giving birth, but it can mean what we want to hold space for what we want to manifest in our experience, what we want to create. And so there is, and I think it's interesting that almost every single one of these individuals, we have a lot of eyes closed here, a lot of kind of inner knowing. The only two, so we have play, I think her eyes are open, but we have here with the appreciation element, she has her eyes open and she's looking directly into kind of the heart, if you will, of this shell, and seeing a tiny, almost like little world inside that maybe she would not have seen otherwise if she would have just kind of, you know, blown by it. So there's a sense here of kind of seeing what's hidden, seeing what's coming up in the new, but there's a sense of holding space. It's almost like for us, this is that week to really start to lean into the vision, not to take action towards the vision, to lean into it and let the pieces start to kind of come alive on the board. If we're looking at kind of a big jumbled puzzle of what the next cycle is going to be, it's almost like us just kind of sitting here and quietly this week looking for that first corner piece and letting it come to us, not having to dig through every single piece, just saying, somebody dumped all those, that's the flexibility. Somebody came, maybe you had half of it kind of done already, and somebody came in and jumbled it all up and you said, you know what? I know I can do it better this time, so I'm going to this week, I'm going to look at it as, you know what? I probably missed a few pieces before. I'm going to do it a little differently this time. Where's that first corner piece? But there is a sense of just really kind of letting go this week, holding space, that vision that's kind of come through for many of us, that feeling, that pull, that call towards the new. It's also, I think, a week for us to really kind of get comfortable with where our value system has changed over the past year and a half. The nodes of the south and the north node of the moon and the south node of the moon have just moved from Taurus and Scorpio into Aries and Libra. And so we're all feeling that shift. We're all feeling that push of Aries to really assert the I am. And with the last 15 months the last year and a half we've had with the North Node in Taurus, we've all been asked to evaluate what we value, to look at our own value, and even how we engage with the physical plane of existence, because that is what Taurus speaks to. They are the fixed earth sign. So there's a sense of really looking at how we move in our physical experience. And so we've all been kind of being asked to push to look at the things that need to change in our physical experience, as well as the value systems that may have changed for us, what we value. This could be saying, I used to value money and now I value time. Or I used to value time and now I value my ability to do my hobbies, my passions, or utilize my creativity. There's something here around that we're all going to be asked to really just get comfortable with what's changed, get ready for the new, kind of sit in that place of, okay, the new me is about to hatch. Things might get a little crazy, but I'm holding space and I'm keeping my eyes closed because I'm going to trust this week. In every moment, there's a chance for me to see that next signpost that says this way, or I'm going to meet that next person that points me in the right direction. There's something along those lines here. And we had to be flexible because we can think we know everything. We can think we know exactly where we're going or what we want to build, but it may come in a different way. So really keep that in mind. That's the biggest lesson I've learned for myself in going through a very lengthy period of time. Really, when I look back, about 8 years, but more than that, really about a 10-year full cycle for myself, where I expected with each passing choice that I made that there would be a specific reaction or consequence or result. And yet I can tell you over the 10 years, nothing came out the way I expected, but everything came to pass in a way that was much better and far more abundant than I could have ever anticipated. So that's where that flexibility has to come in. Okay, so let's go ahead here and I'm going to pull just a couple clarifiers for some of these. So we'll see kind of what wants to come out here. I'm going to pull a couple clarifiers for flexible. Sorry guys, for some reason the video cut out there, so I'm just going to start again. I'm going to pull some clarifiers now for the top two main cards here. We're going to see what do we need to know about flexible. What do we need to know about being flexible? Okay, the Tower. Yeah, there's a sense. So the Tower kind of does represent what this card represents, which is that things may get a little crazy. There may be something big that happens this week that does free us in some aspect of our life where we've kind of been pushing and pushing to not have something change. And the beauty of the Tower is we have to keep in mind that even though, yes, it may feel dramatic, like, oh my gosh, the Tower is literally burning and falling around us as we are sitting here, that it frees us to be able to see our star. Now, the star came out prominently in the last reading last week's reading, which was being able to see that star, being able to see our guiding principle, being able to see, again, what we want to give birth to and manifest in this next cycle for ourselves. And so this week might be a week where there might be a hidden blessing in something that happens where it's like, this is that point of growth for yourself. And to stay flexible, because it might come in out of the blue. Often it's hard for us to see the tower or see what needs to come down around us because we are inside the tower. We think we're safe, we think we're cozy, we think everything's great, and yet there's something that is unstable in the foundation of how we've built that. And that's really where the attention needs to go. That's where things now need to be rebuilt, and we need to free ourselves from kind of being alone up at the top of that tower. So let's go ahead and see what else wants to come out. Yeah, the Five of Pentacles. I think for many of us, the tower might actually come in around where we've felt like we've been the ones kind of left out in the cold, or we don't have the support, or we don't have the physical means in some aspect. And we might realize that it's actually us that's been putting up that barrier, where maybe the tower has become that wall. It's almost like thinking, oh gosh, there's no one there. No one comes to support me. I don't have any friends. I don't have any family. And yet it's because you're at the top of your tower and there are people knocking on the door and on the bottom level, and you can't hear them. You don't see them because you're too busy, being like Rapunzel at the top of the tower. So there's something along those lines where I think for many of us, we're going to be faced with where we feel lack. It might be being faced with, something as dramatic as, being told that you're being let go from your job, or you're being told that, that your business is closing, or you're being told that your significant partner wants to break up with you. And so that's going to impact your bottom line. But it's also going to make you take a look, I think, at where your engagement with the physical might be limited, meaning you feel like, if I don't have this job, I'll never make this amount of money, even if you didn't like that job that much. And yet what you're going to realize as you move past this job and into a new job, into the next job, you're going to make twice as much money and kind of blow the socks off of maybe where you felt like, hey, you weren't getting fairly compensated, or where you were clinging to a job simply out of that fear of, but what if I don't make enough? Or clinging to a relationship simply because you felt, well, if I'm not with this person, even though I'm not happy with them, I don't know if I could pay the rent on my own. So there's something like that might come through. But again, it's a blessing in disguise. It's something that's going to rattle us, shake us. And it might not be as traumatic or dramatic as losing a job or a significant, kind of romantic partner breakup. It could literally be something where we are simply faced with a new challenge to overcome in our life, where maybe we told ourselves we were only capable of making this much money, or we were only capable of living in this geographic location. This could be like where your work, instead of firing you, says, hey, we're promoting you, but you have to move to the New Zealand office. And you're like, wait, what? But then I'll have no friends, and then I'll have no support system, and I don't know if I will have the money to have the home that, it's like one of those kinds of things where suddenly you realize, well, wait a second, I might have to be pushed to go out of my comfort zone to meet new people. I might have to expand my social network. Might have to expand my sense of adventure. There's something here like that where we're each going to be faced with something that's going to push us to go beyond a limitation or a place where we thought maybe we could never do better. And this is Spirit saying, you can absolutely do better. There's a lot more coming your way, but it's kind of like we're getting that little push. So we don't have to take the action. We just kind of have to go with where we're being pushed, or where the walls are kind of coming down in that area. Now, the High Priestess, we have strength, which is the strength is to trust your intuition. The strength is to trust those roots run deep, and that you will be able to kind of flow with this new change. Strength also does speak to kind of controlling that inner fierceness within ourselves. That when we think about, as individuals, angelic being kind of controlling the lion, there's a sense of grace that when we think about real strength, it isn't open aggression or our ability to attack somebody. It is our ability to actually harness that inner part of ourselves and wield it in a way that is assertive and not aggressive. we wield it in a way where we are kind of grace under fire, where we have that sense of, kind of being that peaceful eye of the storm. Let's see here if anything else wants to come out for that. Oh, and we have the Nine of Cups. Beautiful. There's a sense here of really leaning into that heart's dream, that wish of using our intuition to have faith that the dream will come. The Nine of Cups is really getting to that place where we're making that wish for that one last cup to get us from the Nine of Cups to the Ten of Cups. And this is saying hold steady to that dream, hold steady to that vision, and use your intuition as that grounding point, that even though things are getting chaotic, that it's all to bring that 10th cup towards you. Bottom of the deck, there's the Empress again. Holding space. This is like a vortex week. We get to be that eye in the storm. It's almost like staying just kind of poised and letting the craziness happen. And here we are just in the middle of it going, I know when everything calms down, I'm going to see the new way forward. I know that the craziness is just leading me. It's tearing down something that's been hiding my dream from me, that's been keeping that cup. And when we think about cups, a cup could represent someone else coming into your life. This could almost be like a new love of your life waiting to come in, but you had to make that change. Or that cup is the new job, the new fulfilling job that wants to come in. That cup could be a new relationship with your spiritual sense of self. But there is a sense here of the tower being knocked down so that cup can come towards you. Whatever that wish is, I wish I could have that supportive romantic partnership. I wish I could have that fulfilling job. I wish I could experience more time with my family. I wish, whatever that is. Hold true to that, because whatever's going on this week is helping to knock down something in your life that would have otherwise blocked something from coming towards you, blocking that dream from starting to come towards you. Blocking, you can hold space for something all you want, but if you have a wall in front, this would be like saying, I'm holding space for a new job to come into my life, but yet you are not applying for anything. You are not actively, you're not even fantasizing about what that new job might be. You're simply just saying, I hate this job. And it's saying, well, what's the dream? Lean into the dream to allow for you to really realize, if the dream is, I want a job that makes me have a sense of purpose, or I want a job that's more service oriented, or I want a job that I get to be more creative in, or I want a job that allows me to make the same amount of money but I have more time with my family. There's a sense of really leaning into what it is specifically. What do you want out of that? What is the why? What are you holding space for? I'm holding space for more time with my family. That's the real why. I'm holding space for something to come in that will give me a sense of me being able to be of service. I'm holding space for more money, for someone to recognize my value monetarily or in the physical. So as you're getting clear on that, then there's going to be something that comes in over here that says, okay, you said you wanted more time with your family. So now we are going to come in and say, all right, your place of work is saying, hey, you could maybe take a demotion. Maybe you don't have to stay in this managerial position. Maybe you can demote yourself and have more time. You might be faced with maybe making less money, but now you have more time. Are you going to allow that to come in? Or are you going to let the tower fall, leave this job, and go out and open yourself up to a job that maybe will pay you the same, but will allow you to start fresh and to put up the boundary of, I'm only going to work these hours because I want to have time with my family. There's something like that coming in here where you might be faced with that decision, of if you're holding space for more time with your family, you may have two options that come in, but it's trusting your intuition. It's trusting you really being able to see that dream and to understand too that you're the unicorn. So if one option comes in and it's like, well, that's not really gonna do it for me, then to buckle down and say, but I'm still want that dream. So now I understand where that tower has to fall. And that tower has to fall in me not clinging to this job, me actually actively, not maybe this week, but next week going out to start the job search. This is that week to get clear on the why. Why do we want something to change in our life? What are we trying to call in for ourselves? And let spirit knock down the wall so that we can be ready to receive. Beautiful. That's really the message here. The message is we all need to get into kind of a suspended place of receiving. And that's hard because we all have the North Node in Aries, which is like the push. Aries is a masculine energy. It is that the kind of the aggressive energy of move forward, do, initiate, make it happen. And we're all feeling that for ourselves. But this is really saying this week, this is the week to get in touch with our feminine side, to get in touch with the receptivity, to really sit there and say, I'm going to get comfortable with what new I want to bring into my life. What is that 10th cup? What is that missing piece on an emotional level for myself? And I'm going to allow for whatever needs to be brought down in my life to be brought down so that I can trust and have faith in spirit that what I'm calling in and holding space for is coming in on the other side of that wall coming down, the tower crumbling around me. All right, I will leave it there. I hope you all have a wonderful week ahead. This is actually a really beautiful reading. It's very kind of subtle. It may feel strangely chaotic, but again, if we can imagine ourselves as the eye of the storm and just know, again, if we're holding space out of a place of love for what we want to bring in for ourselves, that cup, to trust that what's happening this week is allowing for that. It's opening the door for that to come in for ourselves, but we have to be flexible enough to see it from that perspective. Okay. If you'd like to book a personal reading, you can click on the link in the description box below to visit my website. Otherwise, again, I'll be posting individual, about 10-minute or so readings for each sign based on this reading. And we'll go a little deeper into what it means specifically for your sign. And then I'll start to release the full August tarot scope for each astrological sign. And that will be starting, those will start to be posted on my channel as of the end of this week. All right. I hope, again, you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you in next week's general collective reading. Bye, everyone.